Welcome to Paranormal Into the Night with your host, Dino Ewell. All things spooky, all things paranormal. Get set, get spooked.
Hello everybody, welcome to Paranormal Into the Night on PITN Radio Network. I'm Dino Ewell, and it's going to be a fun show tonight. So let me get the sites out there so everybody knows where to go. www.pitnradionetwork.com. That's where you can find everything. That's the main website. I can also get you to go to my Facebook group, Paranormal Into the Night. Yes, I said a Facebook group. That's we're over 4,000 there, and it's where everybody shares everything. It's a fun group to hang out in and get a lot of info. So go there, and we are a donation station. If you feel free, hit the button in the upper right hand corner. It helps out. So who do we got on the show today? We got Angel Espino, Skywatchers Radio. And I've been digging the show. Him and his two co-hosts he's got. I'll let him introduce himself and tell you what he does. Skywatchers Radio. I mean, I think you can figure that out. But Angel, are you there?
I am here, brother.
Okay, thank you very much for coming on the show with me. I appreciate it.
The pleasure's all mine, believe me.
Oh, awesome. And geez, what can I say? You're the PSN Radio. You do Skywatchers Radio. Why don't you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Well, I have been owning the network now for about 6 years. PSN Radio, me and Bill and Nancy Burns are co-owners, along with a friend of mine who's the president of the company. He's part owner, Lee Klopek, a.k.a. Zod Rider. And we've all have our own shows. Bill and Nancy has Future Theater. Mm-hmm. I have Skywatchers Radio, and I also do a couple other shows on there that I produce because, so not everybody's produce savvy, mm-hmm. and unfortunately. And, I love producing as well as being on air as well. And Skywatchers Radio is one of the first shows that I started. I used to have a show called Inside the Jackal's Head, which is my nickname, the Jackal. And that was the original show I started, but I started Skywatchers about 2 years after that, and I've been doing it now for almost 7 years. And the show really deals with ufology, exopolitics, the movement for disclosure. One of our favorite guests that we have on periodically is Stephen Bassett, who of course is one of my heroes. He's one of the guys who's really poking at the right buttons in Washington to get disclosure to happen. Mm-hmm. And it's something that is really near and dear to my heart because it's one of the greatest mysteries of life. Plus, I think it's the most important question that we all have. Are we alone? That question. And that's one of the reasons why I started that particular show years ago. And it's kind of evolved over the years. Several hosts have come and gone. I left the show for a couple of years and left it to other people to run it. Then I came back and brought it back. We were on Dark Matter Radio Network also as simulcast. We were actually Art Bell's lead-in show for the entire time he was live on air before he retired again for the 18th time, I think. Now he's retired.
Yeah, let's not talk about that, but yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole different story, though.
Yeah, I love Art Bell. Yeah, I really, really do. But yeah, it kind of went a different direction there for a while. But anyways, yeah.
Completely.
Yeah.
But that's really it. I mean, we've been doing this for a while now. We've been together, me and the current crew on Skywatchers for the last 2.5 years. And I can't really ask for any better host. I know you mentioned my co-hosts. Alan Weiler and Crystal Storm are the main co-hosts, along with Christopher J. Brown. And we have Nancy Burns come in once in a while to the Nancy Burns Experience. And I couldn't ask for a better crew. I mean, these folks are just phenomenal people. Crystal's been with me from the beginning of the network. She was one of the first people that joined PSN Radio years ago and became a host on there with us. So she's one of my best friends in the radio land. And somebody who I admire dearly. She's also a very acclaimed author. She has a couple of books out there. Bill and Nancy Burns are, of course, without question, amazing people. It's something that I'm blessed to be a part of Skywatchers Radio.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I said, I've been listening to that show for a while now. I know you guys got a lot of different shows on the PSN Radio Network. Dealing with all kinds of, mostly paranormal, right? So
Yeah, it's mostly paranormal, ufology, but we also like to have fun on other areas. I do a Sunday night broadcast with a couple of my buddies, Zod Riders, one of them, and a few other friends. We do a show called The Round Table where we just geek out and we talk about movies, music, comic books, whatever we like. Because in my heart, I am a geek also. I love geek culture and I love all that stuff. And I like being broad about the stuff that I dig. I don't just like to box myself in one corner. Which originally that's why I started Inside the Jackal's Head, because I wanted to talk about everything from ufology to paranormal to movies, and I wanted to do just a little bit of everything. So
cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny you say that. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, I have the Little Monsters movie podcast that I do on YouTube. And, so we pretty much, I geek out there a little bit on my horror movies and have fun. It's video. I get you. You got to have fun doing what you're doing. I just did Creature from the Black Lagoon, and we're going to go a little old school Universal for a while, black and white. And did a little skit at the beginning, little quick intro there, and then we shot into black and white. We do kind of a commentary through the whole movie, but I'll be the goofy guy, and my buddy Ted will be the info guy. He knows everything about all these movies, man. And I'm like, how do you store all that info in there? But we have fun, man. So I get you, and I'm gonna have to check out that show too. Then
it's a fun show. In fact, what's your favorite horror movie of all times?
Rosemary's Baby.
That's a great choice.
Oh, Mia Farrow is beautiful.
That is a great choice, yeah.
Yes, and it's just, I love the time period. I love the way it was, the atmosphere of the movie. Plus, I like most of the black and white Universals and 80s cheese, I love all that stuff. I love the movies that people go, what the heck are you thinking? I like, like Basket Case.
Another great choice. Yeah, another great movie.
You know what? The acting in there is so bad, but the character,
great.
Yes, because the characters are so good. I mean, you could be a bad actor, but if you get that character down, it could be a really cool, cool movie. And yeah, Basket Case was just hilarious. I mean, but yeah, but then I thought, hey, let's go check out his other movie, Frankenhooker. It was terrible. It was okay to watch once, but the movie was terrible. But I got on this kick after seeing Basket Case, and nothing really compared to it from what he did after seeing that one. But oh well. But yeah, I mean, I'm all over the place when it comes to horror. I mean, I like some foreign films and stuff like that too. So yeah, that's me. I try to have fun, man, and that's kind of what I started this up for too. I started and I'll let you talk in a minute here too. We'll get into some stuff. But yeah, I mean, I started Paranormal to the Night YouTube channel around the same time I did the Little Monsters movie podcast, and it's when Art Bell came back. And
which time?
With
Art Bell, you got to be period specific. He's come back.
I know, not the Dark Matter or what was it? The serious one.
Serious Satellite.
Yeah, not that. It's when he came back and did his very own Midnight in the Desert show, and that's when I got hyped up. I bouncing off the walls like an idiot. Not like an idiot. I mean, I'm a fan, so I was pumped up. And look, it actually led me to make my YouTube channel. I got to interview some people from my group. I mean, if you go way back, I had updates from a year ago, like saying Art Bell's coming back. I had me and my buddy talking about him, and then I started getting into updates like, Art Bell's gone, and yeah, you know the whole story.
Then the depression kicked in. I get it.
Yes,
it's funny you mentioned that because Art Bell is one of the inspirations as to why I got involved in radio.
Yeah.
And I remember being a kid and listening to Art Bell in the 90s. See, with me it's a little different because I didn't only listen to Art Bell. Mm-hmm. I listened to a slew of different radio hosts who were all connected in the same network. WIOD back in the 90s had probably the greatest lineup of radio hosts. They had Art Bell, Phil Hendry, who I think is the greatest radio host of all times.
Yes.
I don't know if you're too familiar with him or not, but if you're not, Check him out on YouTube. Go to his website, become a member. I don't get a penny for that, folks. But he is just an amazing radio personality. Neil Rogers, who I know, George Rodriguez was his co-host and producer for years. I know he's a good buddy of mine now.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil Rogers was down here in Florida. And, they had just an amazing lineup. And as a kid, I started listening to these folks, and it really just completely captured my imagination. I was one of these kids, instead of going home and watching, like, Silver Spoons or Punky Brewster or whatever the heck it was on, in reruns, or G.I. Joe, whatever kids were watching,
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to radio. That's who I was back in the late '80s, early '90s, mid '90s. That's what I listened to. I was completely different than a lot of other kids. And as I got older, and Art Bell got more and more into doing the paranormal, ufology based stuff, I got more into that because I had a couple sightings as a kid, and I always thought, well, maybe I'm just weird, and what I saw was weird. But then when I heard it on his show, I was like, wait a second.
Oh yeah.
Other people are having experiences like this. They're seeing things as well. So it's not just me. And here's a guy talking about this stuff. And he completely captured my imagination immediately with his slew and onslaught of amazing guests that he would have on each week. And, Art Bell is a legend. It's a shame what's happened to him in the last 10, 15 years. It really is.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think of all of the time that we could have had with him, but hey, that's life, and his path went a different way, and I mean, there's nothing you could do about it, really, But how old were you when you were listening to Art Bell, like your first experience listening to him?
My goodness.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I got to say I was maybe 11 or 12.
Okay, wow. So you were pretty young.
Yeah.
I think the first time, well, you're probably a little bit younger than me then.
I'm 38 now.
Okay, well, I'm 46, so...
Okay,
yeah.
So a little younger.
Yeah. So, 8-year difference there, so... my first experience with listening to Art Bell was, I was like you. I mean, in my late teens, I got into listening to like the radio and shows, and I just was enthralled. And I would, late at night, that's what I would do. I'd put my headphones on and listen to whatever I could get on the radio. But one night, I turned on and came to Coast AM with Art Bell. And the show I heard was the one where the Area 51 caller, the frantic caller, called in, and he was knocked off the air. So... You know which one I'm talking about, I'm sure.
Of course. In fact, I know the person who was the caller on that show.
Do you?
He's a friend of mine. His name is Brian J. Glass.
Okay.
That whole thing was a work, by the way. That was not a real Area 51 caller.
Oh, no. I'm
to burst everybody's bubble who still believes
No.
that might have been a real thing. Brian J. Glass is actually a friend of mine. He's a comic book artist. And I interviewed him live in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had no idea that he was that guy. I had no clue.
Huh.
And we interviewed him on the Roundtable Show, which we do, which again is comic book movies based.
Yeah.
And I've known that guy now for years, right? And he drops the bombshell live on air, and it's in archives. So we all had this dumbfounded expression on air when he said, "You guys know my connection with ufology?" And we were like, "No, what's your connection?" Because we had no idea that was him,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Well, I'm Art Bell's famous Area 51 caller." And of course, we were like, "Oh, come on, BS. Come on, that's you're not that guy."
Yeah.
And then he did the voice, and he went into character, and he did the exact thing. And I remember when Art was on the air, and that happened a few days later,
Mm-hmm.
a guy named Brian called in and admitted that it was all a lie, and he had hoaxed the whole thing. And the reason he did it was because he wrote this book, or a comic book,
Mm-hmm.
and in the graphic novel, he had this storyline, and he literally just called in and read a page from the book.
Huh.
That was
No
the whole
way.
thing. That was it. People bought it. People believed it. But here's the kicker: the satellite really did go off air.
Oh, so it did. Okay.
That part was true, and I got that from inside sources to Art. So that really did happen. That part of it. So my question always was how close to reality was what Brian was saying.
Yeah, like somebody got a little worried and go like, who's
Somebody's
this guy?
like, something's going on here. Somebody's saying some truth.
Yeah.
Gotta knock that satellite off the air. So that part of it is true, but the actual story that you heard on the air that night, unfortunately, was the work of Brian J. Glass.
I did hear that through sources and all that stuff. But I tell you, man, that night, especially I think because it actually got knocked off the air. I mean, he did a great job for sure. But getting knocked off the air and hearing this for the first time Late at night just was chilling. I'm just like, holy crap, what is this? What am I listening to, man? And, from that point forward, I was hooked. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how much you've listened to, and I'm going to spill the beans here a little bit too. I don't know how much you've listened to Art when he came back, if you got a chance to listen to his shows.
Every night, brother. Every night.
Okay, so did you listen to his program, the Losing My Mind line?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know the vampire caller who came on?
I do not know them. No, I don't know the person.
Well, no. Well, that was
I know
me.
who you're talking about, though. Yes.
That was me.
Oh, that was you? No kidding.
Yes, I was going back and forth with Art since he came back, and it started progressing the shows because it was a little bit political, and it was different than any shows that he usually did.
Right.
And I kept telling him, Art, please do something spooky. We need to get that back from what we had, and he kind of was, back and forth, going, oh, well, I'll think about it. He was actually just shooting me messages and talking to me, and oh my God, what did I said? Open up a vampire line or something that night, and he ended up calling it Losing My Mind line, and I'm like, Art, what are you doing, man? This is awful. I mean,
he would have never done that back in the early 2000s or late 90s. He
no,
never had that Losing My Mind line.
Exactly.
Because back then he would have really catered to that kind of crowd.
Right. No. Yeah, he was. That's what I was missing. And I said, you know what? I'm going to call up tonight, and I'm going to be a vampire, and I got the thirst for blood, and that's why I'm losing my mind. And it's on the YouTube page. I mean, you could go back and look at the vampire on the archives that they got there. That's me, man. That's me.
Small world, man. That's hysterical.
I'm telling you. Oh, man. But, yeah, I mean, it was just great. And the EVPs, when Barbara and Macbeth would come on with and Brendan Cook, yeah. Those were some of the scariest shows. I mean, I'm laying in the dark listening to this, so you hear a child's voice, the EVPs, I'm looking over my shoulder as a grown adult going, man, this, those were some of the spookiest shows I ever listened to at night. But
it's funny because EVP stuff and the ghost stuff that Art did really was the scarier stuff for me. I mean, I could deal with UFOs and aliens and not have a problem. Ghosts are a little bit of a different topic for me, and it's a little bit harder for me to deal with for a couple of reasons. One, the main reason is because the first house that we moved into when we moved to Miami, Florida, was haunted. And when I say it was haunted, I'm talking about it was really, really haunted, like crazy haunted.
Really?
To the point where I saw things move right in front of me. Things would just fly off the shelves. I saw an apparition of a little girl go through a wall. My brother got beat up as he was sleeping one night.
Holy crap!
TVs would turn on and off. We hear screaming and footsteps in the hallways of the house. And it started immediately when we moved in. Now, we didn't know this when we moved in, but in the 60s and 70s, the house was a funeral home.
Oh,
and
okay.
Hundreds of dead people went through that house. A block away from the house it is still there. It's a church that would prepare the bodies, and they would take you to the funeral home and leave it there. So you can imagine how many dead people went from the church to the house, to the funeral home.
Yeah.
When we moved in, ironically enough, there were people that lived right next door because it was a duplex house. They had split the house in two, and there was another outhouse where they would cremate bodies, but they made it also into a little house. And the people were moving out as we were moving in. And my father asked him, why are you moving out? It's such cheap land, and it's a big, big house. And they were like, you'll find out in about a week or two. Don't worry. You'll want to leave too. Wow. They didn't say anything else. They just left it at that and left. And they couldn't rent the next door. They couldn't rent that apartment for anything. Sure enough, we only lived there for about 3.5 months, and we moved out. It was too much activity.
Wow, 3.5 months, huh?
Yeah. So now when I hear stuff about EVP, especially when there's like little kids involved, when you hear EVPs of children, that really gets to me because I love kids and I love and to me the worst thing is to see a child suffer or die horribly. Just to know that a child is on the other side suffering, or an EVP might be a child who's stranded somewhere in limbo, or whatever. the case is, to me that hurts, and to even hear that kind of stuff, it creeps me the hell out. It really does.
Oh yeah, no, that I think that's why it's so scary and so spooky to listen to, and gives me the creeps when I listen to it. I mean, just to imagine, just like you said, that thought. I mean, what's scarier, I mean, but I also have other people in the field who have said, they're not because you get an awful lot of children's voices in EVPs, and
Right.
they say that it doesn't necessarily mean they're a child. They could be changing their voice. It could be just coming through that way. Energy has. So I mean, either way, it's scary. I mean, you can't get away with that. I mean, it's a spooky sound, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the what's the one sound that they got, which really had me questioning. But I do believe, Barbara and Brendan, when they did that, the drowning kid. You remember it in the bathtub?
I vaguely remember that one.
There was an old man with him. It was one of the longest EVPs I think I've ever heard, and that they've ever recorded. And the boy was splashing water in the bathtub, and there was an old man there giggling, and I mean it went on for I think a minute and a half. I mean, it was very long, and scariest thing I ever heard. That's yeah. Anyways, we got to talking about Art Bell a little bit here, but that's okay.
Hey, he's the godfather of this medium. I mean,
Yes.
let's be honest. Everybody who does this type of radio broadcast
Yep.
is inspired by Art Bell one way or the other. He's the inspiration for why I do these kind of broadcasts, because I've been offered to do sports shows on AM radio.
Mm-hmm.
I've been offered, other gigs to do other stuff. And I have, like I said, a broad range of things that I'm interested in.
Yeah.
But I go back to ufology. I go back to the paranormal because of the love that I have for the subject because of Art Bell.
Yeah.
He's the godfather of this thing.
Yeah, and you've experienced a lot of it too, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, and how often are you on the radio a week?
Way too much.
Okay,
Way too much.
Okay.
Let's see. On Sunday nights, I have the Roundtable Show, which airs 8 p.m. Eastern to 10, and that's followed by Rich Giordano's show, which I have nothing to do with. I'm not a producer or a host on there, but I listen to it. So
Yeah.
I'm there for 4 hours on the radio listening or being on the air. And then Monday, I have a block of 4 hours where I produce for Future Theater, Bill and Nancy Burns. And then I produce Ufonaut Radio with Jesse Randolph and Chris J. Brown. And then Tuesday, I have my own show, Skywatchers Radio, which airs for 2 hours. So I do a way too much broadcasting at this point. Way too much. I got to cut down.
Okay. Well, some people are able to do it, though. I mean, just get on air and just start talking like Art did, I mean, doing what I'm doing, I sit here and even Heather on right now, I think she moved to 4 hours, I think she's doing a night.
Yeah, God bless her for doing that. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to do 2 hours, 3 hours. I mean, I've done a 6-hour podcast a couple times.
Yeah.
That was years ago, and I would never do that again, to be honest with you. So I can't imagine doing 4 hours every night for 5 days a week.
Oh no, I mean it's tough. I mean, Art. That's what made Art special. I mean, he would put the microphone in front of him, and he just can go on for 5 hours. He's in his little room there, walk outside, everything that went on. I mean, it just, but doing this, I'm like, wow, how did he ever do it, man?
And that's before there was like 50,000 commercials like there is on Coast to Coast now.
Yeah,
now it's like 5 minutes of George Norrie talk and then 20 commercials. And then 5 minutes of George Norrie talk and 20 commercials.
I tell you what, man, since podcasting came out and some good shows did pop up and stuff like that, I have not turned on a radio and listened to anything with commercials in it in years.
Same here.
I just can't do it. I can't get myself to do it,
The only time I listen to AM radio or any radio is when I'm driving home.
Oh, right.
And I have sports radio normally on. That's about it.
Yeah. We got an afternoon guy, Mike Trevisano, here in Cleveland. He's a really good talk show host. This guy could technically go anywhere. He's outspoken, big mouth. I mean, really good. That's about the only thing I do listen to, but it's when I'm out and about in the car or at home and I could be walking around and stuff like that. So, but anyways, let's get to some topics if you don't care. We'll talk a little bit about. I know one of the things you say you have some theories on is Roswell. Man, the longest UFO story out there, really, right? I mean,
Well, in the most relevant in a lot of ways, because we know for a fact that something happened. We know for a fact that something crashed, whether it was man-made or alien. This was released by the national press. This is something that really did happen. We had official officers involved. People witnessed an event. That's what makes it so relevant. And the fact that the story has changed so many times over the last 50 years also adds to that, that credibility that something really sinister happened that was covered up. Because if something happened and the truth is what it is, it wouldn't change over time so many times. It would just stay the same. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
for example, I believe Travis Walton was abducted because his story has never changed.
Yeah.
He's been consistent with his story, and it's a very legit sounding story. And Roswell, this is the first time that we had confirmation from the government saying that an alien flying saucer had crashed and there were bodies involved. And then they retracted the story the very next day.
Yeah. And why do you think they would retract it in the way that they did, though? You think it was just something they just quickly came up with and just kind of afterwards dumb? Why did we do that?
Well, there's a couple different things that would make it for them to retract it. One would be that there were actually aliens involved and they didn't think society was ready at the time, which I agree with. Believe it or not, I think we weren't ready in 47 to really acknowledge the fact that we were not alone, that aliens were among us. I think there would have been mass panic back then. Blue Book, said it perfectly. Society was not ready. If you look at Orson Welles' War of the Worlds broadcast, what happened after that kind of tells you that at that point in time, we were not ready for disclosure. Just as a species, we were not ready for it. So I'm not mad at the government for covering it up if that was the case. But I go a little bit deeper than that. I don't think it was so much just because it was an alien crash that happened. I think we were dealing with technologies that were, yes, part alien, but also part Nazi.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. That's where my theory goes. Now, if you follow along here, in the 1940s, we had three major events. We had the war, right, World War II,
right,
which ended. Was it in 45? The war ended.
Yeah, right.
Right.
World War II,
first in 42, who passed away? Nikola Tesla, right?
Yes.
Tesla passed away.
Yes.
Nikola Tesla was working on a flying saucer. He had actually schematics. He had the blueprints for a flying machine, a flying saucer. Then the Nazi war ended in 45, and then we have the Roswell crash in 47. Okay, we have three major events in one decade. Now, my theory has been for at least the last 10 years, as I've done a lot of research and homework, and I've read and seen videos, and I've heard others talk about this, and I've kind of combined my own theory was that when Nikola Tesla died, we took a lot of his technologies and stuff that he was working on, and we kind of started working on these things ourselves. And when we found out, and when I say we, I mean the United States.
Yeah.
When we found out that the Nazis were also working on some kind of alien hybrid technology, which the Hannibal Project is one of them. When we went into war and took out the Nazis, what's the first thing we did? We took their scientists, right?
All right, yeah.
Werner von Braun and all these folks that came over and got American citizenships. We took them on board, and my theory is as soon as they got here, the first thing they did was they put back on track the Hannibal Project and all the Nazi technologies they were working on, but they incorporated Tesla's technology. And what happened at Roswell, I believe, was probably, and now there's a couple of theories there was more than one ship that crashed. That's, another theory. And one that I actually believe in. I believe that, and I think that what happened was we probably had a crash of a alien ship along with a ship that we built using Nazi and Tesla technology, and that's the big secret. It's a bigger secret to let the world know that we have Nazi UFOs flying around in U.S. airspace than alien ships crash. So,
but were both the ships? Wasn't the crash sightings supposedly at the same time too, though?
Well, supposedly they were several miles apart. One ship, I guess, when they collided, one ship landed at the farm, and then there was another ship that was found several miles apart from that. That's the lore. That's the mythology right now that people have come up with over the last 50 years as to the actual wreckage. And I do think that there were bodies, probably human bodies as well as alien bodies. You never know.
Okay.
whether there was aliens or not involved. But I do think there might have been. I think there's a lot of truth to the fact that could have been alien bodies involved as well, because I do believe what Jesse Marcel said. I don't think he was an idiot by any means. I think he would have known what a flying saucer.
Yes.
Who would know the difference between a weather balloon and a flying saucer? I think.
Exactly.
That the man was not stupid.
No,
okay?
not at all.
And to say that he saw a weather balloon and mistook it for a flying saucer is insulting to his intelligence.
Exactly.
Is insulting to the intelligence of everybody who was involved, and it's just insulting to the Americans, to all of our intelligence. Because you're telling us that our own people that were have in these positions in the military cannot tell the difference between a weather balloon and a flying saucer.
Oh yeah, no, and that happens over and over, even to this day. Like, we're dumb, and they'll tell us what we want to hear, and we're just like, well, what? What are you talking about? That's just so stupid. So I mean, yeah, I get that. The whole you said human bodies and maybe alien bodies together. You thinking in one ship or from both combined crashes?
I think probably from not in the same ship. I think from individual ships. Probably one.
Okay.
Was the ship that we were creating. Remember, we went to the moon based on the Nazis' work. Werner von Braun became the head of NASA and the head of the rocket program. He got us to the moon, right? If you believe that we went to the moon.
Yeah.
But that's another story. We'll talk about that later if you want.
Yeah.
But he was involved in that deeply, and he was involved in the Hannibal project. So I do think that one of the ships had human beings in it flying that craft, and maybe they somehow were confronted by an actual alien spacecraft. They came down to see what the heck is going on. What is this thing flying around? Maybe by accident we summoned them, or triggered some kind of a beacon, and they came down and the two crashed into each other, and next thing you know, you have two different crash sites.
Okay, that makes sense. I was going to ask you like what we would be doing, but yeah, that makes a lot of sense. For sure. Yeah, wow. I tell you, man, it's crazy over the years, the stories and how it's, changed. And do you think we'll ever really know the truth on it? Or
it's funny. We had Steve Bassett on recently on UFOnaut Radio, and he, of course, is a big proponent for disclosure, and he thinks, we're going to get the truth. In fact, he thinks we're going to get the truth before November of this year.
Wow.
I think
I love Stephen Bassett too, and I hear a lot of that stuff. But I mean, this has been going on for years and years and years too. I mean, what do you think his point is with why we're not getting anything? I mean, he does keep saying, like you said, come this November, he says we should get something.
Right. Well, the reason he's saying that is because of the fact that Hillary Clinton is running for president, and she's so into the subject. She has Podesta working for her campaign, and he has been trying to push this subject forward. And he really believes that we're at the cusp of getting disclosure, and it's going to be Obama who discloses it before he leaves office, so he can be the disclosure president. He's been actually saying that for the last few years. And while I would love for that to be the case, because I'd love to have disclosure, I don't think it's going to happen that way.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And haven't we had presidents in the past almost get to that point too? And we thought, oh my God, here we go, and then nothing ever happened.
Well, the reason, it's not so much the president. I mean, the presidents can only do so much.
No, exactly.
They're the heads of state, sure. They write laws and do all their stuff. But in reality, they're puppets. And they're only going to let out what the people running the actual show want them to let out. So I don't think they're ever going to disclose everything. What I do think is going to happen probably in the next 15, 20 years, we're going to have something that I like to call soft disclosure, where we would find microbes or small animal-like life forms on other planets or moons in our own solar system. And that's how they're going to start disclosing that, hey, look, aliens do exist outside of Earth. Here's a little animal on Mars. Or here's a little animal on Europa, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's what I think is going to be a soft disclosure. And then as time goes on, eventually NASA is going to disclose that they found a planet that harbors life similar to ours. But I still think that's a little far away, and I think NASA's going to do it through their channels, because that would make it so nobody gets in trouble. Because look, if they come forward and say, oh yeah, we know about aliens, we've known about it for 60, 70 years now, or 100 years, or whatever it is, and we've been covering it up. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to get thrown in jail because they've been lying to the government, they've been lying to the people for this amount of time, and not everybody's dead. Who is part of the cover-up, or the truth embargo, as Bassett likes to call it. Not everybody's dead. So those people are going to be facing tremendous scrutiny, and a lot of those folks might end up in prison. And that's one thing that I think they want to kind of avoid. They also want to avoid the label of being a society or a government that lies to its people like that.
But man,
that's something that I can understand.
Don't the ordinary person, like just your average Joe, even like me, I mean, don't we know that that's what's going on to begin with? I mean, I think everybody's come to the point to know that things have been covered up and continue to be covered up. I mean, I think we're ready to. I mean, I know 1947 it was a different story, space age and all that kind of stuff going on. But I mean, we're ready for. I want an alien ship to land right now, and I think most of the planet would be okay with it. I mean, do you think so or no?
I think I would say about 70% of the population is not only ready for it, they're hyped for it. They want it to happen.
Yes.
And then there's another probably 20% of the population that is, they understand that there's a reality to it, but they're still scared by the whole notion. And then the rest are just the non-believers, But I'm one of that 70%. I want to see aliens walking around amongst us. In fact, I joke about this on Skywatchers all the time. When it comes to abduction, I'm like, look, you guys don't need to come in to my bedroom at 4 a.m. and take me on in some kind of trance through the wall and do all these crazy things. If an alien wants to kidnap me or talk to me or take me on their ship, knock on my window. I'll go outside. I'm here for you guys.
Yes.
You can throw me a rope ladder down from your spaceship. You don't need to knock me out like you did Travis and then beam me up there. No. Drop me on the rope ladder. I'll climb up to your ship because I want to take that ride.
Angel, that's the same way I think. I want to, come land on the. I mean, nobody needs to know about it. Just come pick me up, man.
Just be gentle with the probing. That's all I'm asking.
Oh, for sure. No, yeah.
Just use a little Vaseline or lube, and we're good.
Exactly. Oh man, no. That's this is what is killing me. Not really killing me, getting to me. Really, really. Everything over the years, see, you've witnessed stuff, okay? So I can kind of, you've probably got a different point of view on a lot of things. Me, I'm in search and I really want something to happen. And when nothing happens to you and you don't get a UFO sighting, a ghost sighting, hear this or that, and you're looking, it just makes you question everything and just wonder. So that's why, I mean, come pick me up, take me away, and as long as you bring me back, I guess. But, I mean, that's just how I think. I want something to happen. And I think, please happen in my lifetime. Like you're saying, maybe 20, years down the road, something like that, they'll eventually. I mean, even now we're kind of rolling, aren't we, with finding planets here and there? I mean, how many are we up to now?
Hundreds. It's funny. We had on Skywatchers recently Jacob Israel, who I suggest you check out his channel on YouTube. Okay. Amazing guy, really, really cool guy, and we had him on the show talking about his channel and what he's been doing with everything that he works on. And he has a lot of interest in ufology. And he had a video that really caught my attention because he said something in his video that I've been saying for the last about a year now, talking about planet Eris.
Okay.
Planet Eris was found outside of Pluto, is past Pluto, and it's on the same elliptical orbit as what supposedly Nibiru is on.
Okay.
So when he said that in his video, I was like, finally somebody else is saying it, because to me, that is Nibiru. I do think there's some truth to Nibiru. I don't think it's going to come around and destroy our planet every 3,600 years. I don't think that happens. I think Sitchin lied about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Let's be clear on that. But I do think there is a planet out there, a planet of the crossing, as it's called. The Bible calls it Wormwood. Some call it Nibiru, the Anunnaki. I do believe that story to be true. And I do think NASA found it, and they named it Eris because they don't want to name it Planet X or Nibiru to avoid that scrutiny or to avoid that panic. But it's really funny how they send a probe out to Pluto as soon as they find this other planet. And they take a few pictures of Pluto, real nice shots. But then the mission really goes forward, and now they're going to take pictures of Eris.
Huh, okay.
Why are they spending all these billions of dollars to fly out to see a planet that's so far away? They should be an ice ball.
Exactly. No, I get you. Yeah, it's... Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. And it's in our elliptical, in our solar system, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's in the same what the classic depiction of what Nibiru would be on that elliptical orbit that goes around every 3,600 years.
yeah.
It's on that same orbit right now. It's a little bit further away from Pluto, so it's not that far off that they can't get to it quickly enough. So I'm pretty sure by now they're pretty close to it or almost there.
Okay. Well, how did I miss this? I'm gonna have to definitely check that out then.
Yeah, when in doubt, my friend, Google it out. You'll find some stuff.
Oh yeah. Or YouTube it now, huh?
Yeah, I'm a little iffy on YouTube though. YouTube, there's a lot of hoaxes.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, there's the channels that with the CGI and oh my God, look, there's a UFO next to the sun. So yeah, I get you. Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's just, the whole alien thing. I mean, coming, probing, DNA, whatever. I mean, what are your thoughts on what they're doing here? Do you think there's multiple races? I'm sure you do.
Oh, of course. Look, space is infinite. We know that much, right? There's an infinite amount of planets out there, solar systems, galaxies. So there's going to be an infinite amount of life forms out there.
Of course.
One thing, though, and I have made this clear on my show, is I don't think they're as actively coming to Earth and abducting people as we're led to believe.
Okay.
In fact, the new season actually of the X-Files touched upon that beautifully, where they actually said that Roswell happened.
Mm-hmm.
We've been contacted. There is an alien presence, but most of the abductions that's happened since have been government abductions. Our own people are getting abducted by our own people.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I do believe that. I think that a lot of the things that the people are seeing in the skies are not alien ships. They're back engineered ships that we're flying in black budget projects. Because, we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on these black budget projects to create these monstrous machines that we never get to see.
Oh, no, I believe you. I believe that's exactly what's happening. The thing that gets me with that is, once again, if you got this, why aren't you guys doing anything with it? And I mean, I know everything's got to stay under wraps, and this is, I guess, the world we're living in. But yeah, I want stuff to come out.
Remember, we're only told so much. I mean, we don't know if outside of the Earth there's colonies on other planets that we've put there already. There are folks out there who say things like there's colonies on Mars already, like Andrew Bisaggio, who, by the way, I do not believe one word of what he says.
Yeah.
But he does go on saying that there's colonies on Mars, and I don't doubt that there could be some things on Mars that we've placed there already, that we've been to Mars as human beings already.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that we have more than just the ISO flying around.
Okay, yeah. I mean, do you actually do think that then, huh? Or possibility?
Of course, I believe that because we have all this technology. Of course, we're going to be zipping around the solar system, going from planet to planet. What we see, what NASA allows us to actually witness, is a very small portion of what really is going on with all this money they're spending. That's just it's like a magic act. You know how magic works? It's by misdirection. You get to see one thing on one hand, but the real trick is on the other hand that you're not looking at.
Well, doesn't it piss you off though, man, that this stuff is going on possibly, and there's nothing we can do about it. There's just a select few. I mean, it's
infuriating because, like I said, I want disclosure to happen. I want this veil to be dropped already. I want to know the truth, and that's why I do the shows, because I want to know, are we alone? I want to be able to meet aliens and interact with them and see what makes them tick and see who they are, where they're from. That's why I love science fiction like Star Wars and Star Trek, because at least you get to see these other worlds inhabited by different beings, and you get to kind of like at least imagine what it could be like.
Yes, let your imagination go.
Correct.
Did you see the new Star Trek movie?
I did, and it was really good. Star Trek Beyond was really, really good.
Wasn't the detail, I mean, the very beginning of that movie, the detail on the ship and space and everything was just beautiful. Oh, I loved it. Okay.
And by the way, I don't know if you picked up on this, but in Star Trek Into Darkness, the one right before this, do you know what planet they were on in the very beginning of the movie?
I'm not good with going back real quick. You tell me.
You can look this up and watch the movie again. It's going to trip you out. They were on planet Nibiru.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Why would they put that on there?
That's right. I don't even know why I forgot that, because that was a big thing. Everybody was talking about that. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me. I mean,
it's crazy, but there is I think a lot of truth to the notion that Hollywood is slowly getting us conditioned to believe and to understand the alien reality and the reality that we're not alone in the universe.
Well, that's true, and
that is part of that agenda.
Yeah, exactly, and that is true. I do believe that, because you get all those little tidbits in Hollywood in the movies. But what's Hollywood got to do with the government? You think the government's talking to Hollywood? Certain people in the mix?
Of course. I mean, look, Jackie Gleason supposedly had ties with government officials, and he saw some alien bodies back in his day. I do think that a lot of directors like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas either have been briefed on some of the stuff that's really going on and told to make movies in a certain way. And look, Steven Spielberg has made movies about good aliens and bad aliens. Why? Because chances are there are such things as good aliens and bad aliens. Just like there are good humans and bad humans.
Exactly.
So, and I'm pretty sure these guys might be a little bit more knowledgeable about what the thing, about the entire thing than, they lead on, because at the end of the day, they have their careers to worry about, so they can't, disclose too much. But I do think that Hollywood has been used over the years to promote these agendas. Hollywood is used all the time to promote different agendas, whether it's civil rights movements, gay rights movements, alien rights, or not alien rights, but alien agenda, the cover-up, aliens among us. I mean, these things are stuff that Hollywood deals with, because I think there is people that tell them you have to kind of make movies about this. You got to deal with these type of things.
Oh, yeah. I tell you. Hey, have you heard of, and I'm going to throw this out there because I'm curious if you've heard of the story and what your thoughts are on it, because I interviewed this guy, 3 weeks ago maybe, Tolik,
okay.
The Andromeda Council. Have you heard of it?
I've heard of the Andromeda Council, yeah.
Okay, would you tell me what your thoughts are on the matter?
It's a nice, it's a nice story.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if I buy it.
I mean, he's got his story down, pretty good.
Yeah, he does. But look, that story is kind of like Sheldon Neidl and the Galactic Federation of Light, and all these people that come out with stories that are not provable. You can't prove any of these things.
Exactly.
They're just stories, like Andrew Bisaggio. It's just a story. Mm-hmm. My thing is, if you cannot come up with some hard, tangible evidence, what are you doing? You're just trying to make money and create a cult.
Right. Okay.
That's what a lot of these folks are doing. And here's the thing. If there was any truth whatsoever to what Andrew Bisaggio has been saying, or any of these folks have been saying, chances are there would have been somebody knocking on their door. And they would have stopped them a long time ago, because these are very deep secrets that I'm sure the government doesn't want out there. So that's why I call BS to a lot of this stuff, because, again, there's no evidence. And when you have somebody like Bisaggio who comes up with a picture from the 1800s of some little kid with a blurred face, you can't tell who he is, and he says, yeah, you see, that's me. That was me back then because I'm a time traveler. I call BS to that. I'm sorry. I have to call BS every time because, no hard evidence at all. No evidence. And then he claims all these crazy things like I'm running for president and I'm going to win because I've already been to the future and I'm the president. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But the reason they do these things, the reason why the Andromeda Council people come forward and the Sheldon Neidls of the world come forward is because these are folks that need a place to fit in. Yep. They find ufology. They find gullible people who believe their stories. And who follow them and buy their books, go to see them at lectures, donate money to them. Next thing you know, they're making a killing. They don't have to work anymore. They're making money off your gullibility.
When you said cult, I mean, it really hit me, and because that's exactly. I mean, they've got some big followers. I mean, they really, really do. But that's where I say, man, you got a really good story here, and I mean, I was very, very polite. I'm always open, just like Art Bell used to be with asking questions. I let them get their story out there because it was really the first time I heard his story, and I think he even said, we will go through a transformation in about 5 years, I think he said, and that means this world will go from a 3D world to a 4D world, and pretty much life will die here. So It's hard for me to believe that you can state that a few years down the road here, everything's going to be done and over with. I mean, what are you going to do when everything's still here after that 5, 6, 7 years? You know what I mean?
you either fade away into obscurity, or you come up with another BS story as to why it didn't happen.
There
it's
you
because
go.
of CERN. That CERN, man, it changed the timeline, so things didn't happen.
Yeah,
it's the Mandela effect all over again.
There you go. Yeah, no, that's exactly what happens. I mean, they do change their story, and it ends up being something different. And I mean, heck, Ed Dames, another one I'll get into, where Doomsday was about ready once every year, and that's been for the past 15, 20 years now, however long it's been, and nothing's happened. I mean, has it? I mean,
no, I'm still here. You're here. We're talking.
There you go.
So far, no Doomsday. Sorry, Ed Dames.
And hey, what was your UFO sighting?
I had two, and one was in California, and I don't think it was an alien craft. I think what I witnessed was probably a government craft, but it was one of those highly experimental crafts that we talk about, black budget crafts. I was a kid. I was out in the backyard playing with a friend of mine, a neighbor of mine, and I was like maybe 6 or 7. I was a little kid.
Okay.
And I saw a glowing object in the sky. It was sitting there stationary. It kind of looked like if you're looking at an airplane coming at you and you see the light just sitting there because it's coming right at you, and when it comes at you, it just looks like it's sitting in the sky, like it's floating there, right?
Yeah.
It kind of looked like that. So at first I didn't really think anything. And I'm a kid. I didn't think anything of it, And I'm looking at it, and my friend looks at me and he goes, "Man, that light is getting bigger." And I said, "Yeah, it's probably an airplane." And I looked at it, and as I'm looking at it, this thing just shot straight up into the sky and disappeared.
Wow, okay.
And then I was like, okay, well, not an airplane. That's definitely an airplane. But here's the thing. I lived in California, not too far off from where, Nevada, and all these different experimental places, Area 51.
Okay.
You're going to see some stuff out there. I guarantee if you go out there, you're going to see some stuff because they test fly a lot of these things out there. Art Bell had his sighting in the desert out there.
Yeah.
And that's, for a reason. It's because a lot of our, especially in the 80s and 90s, that's where a lot of this stuff got tested.
Yeah. Well,
now,
yeah,
the second sighting was happening in Florida. That's a little bit different. That one happened when me and my father were watching TV, and our TV set was not under, but it was right in front of a window. The window's laying right on top of it. The window was open. We had breeze coming in. We're watching some Spanish TV show that he liked. This was mid-'90s, and we saw an object flying from left to right, and it stopped almost middle of the window, and it was a glowing, pulsating light, and then it was just sitting there for a few seconds, and it just shot straight up again and disappeared. And my father and I both saw it because we were looking right at the TV, and we looked up and we were like, what the heck was that?
Jeez. Yeah, see, I got to do more sky watching, I think.
What's funny that you mentioned that? I have several hundred hours of sky watching, legit going outside with friends, looking at the skies with cameras and stuff.
Okay.
Recorded nothing but satellites, airplanes, nothing major. Never seen a UFO when I'm actually out there on purpose trying to find something.
Yeah. And
the two sightings that I've had, wasn't even expecting or looking for it. It just happened.
Wow. How about those the people? I mean, there are some hot spots that people say they can go to, and pretty much any night of the week you'll get some evidence and see them up there. I'm sure you've seen the same. What was it on some shows or something? I forget which one it was on. Might have even been Paranormal State. The one kid on there did stuff like that. But you know what I'm talking about. There are some hot spots.
There are hot spots, but you got to remember there's also areas where it's easier to see satellites with flares on them and see different things in the sky that are very natural and man-made.
Okay.
Which to the untrained eye could seem like a UFO.
Okay.
So you got to understand. I had a buddy of mine here in Florida, and I'm not going to mention his name because we're no longer buddies. But he, for years, used to record UFOs, or what he thought were UFOs.
Yeah.
And he, had a podcast in Florida, UFOs. I'm not going to say much. People who know me know who I'm talking about.
Right.
But he would, go on record saying, yeah, these are definitely aliens, and these are UFOs, and this and that. And I had a conversation with one of his friends who would go out sky watching with him. And a lot of times they would not see anything when they were together, but they would see stuff when they weren't in the same location. And his friend would tell him, look, at this direction and you're going to see something. And then I asked him, I was like, let me ask you, is there an airport nearby where you are when you're telling so-and-so about where to look? And it turns out the airport was like half a mile away from his house. So he literally is telling him where to look to find airplanes. And this guy who doesn't know any better is pointing his camera at the sky, and he's seen random airplanes come about, and he thinks they're UFOs. Because there's certain cameras that when you point it to the sky and you point it at an airplane, it's going to look like an orb in the sky. It's going to look like a UFO. And it's just an airplane. And this is something that I proved myself, and I put it on YouTube a few years ago, where I went outside my own house, recorded an airplane flying towards me, and by God, it looked exactly like a UFO. And I posted it on YouTube. Next thing you know, I had 3 different websites crowning it as one of the best footage of a UFO they've seen in years. Wow. They asked me if I had contacted MUFON, if I had people knocking on my door, that I should be careful because this is too realistic. Oh, my God. And I'm like, how stupid are people where they believe that this airplane is a UFO? And I went on record after a few weeks of letting this kind of like spread like a virus. And I went on record and I said, listen, guys, stop being so gullible. That's an airplane.
Wow.
I know it's an airplane because I purposely recorded an airplane to see how stupid this one person is. He believed it, and then everybody else believed it on YouTube.
Yeah, no, that's how it goes, huh? I mean, there's a couple groups I know where a couple people, skywatch and sit there and actually record what looks like just, a glowing object in the sky, and it moves slowly across the sky, and through the camera, it could be a plane, just like you're saying. But they dedicate every night, pretty much, in some of these groups to that. And they put it up there as evidence of UFOs. And, as to the credibility of it, like you said, who knows, I mean, it is so easy to misinterpret what you're seeing,
Not only that, it also tarnishes the entire field of ufology because, let's be honest,
too. Yeah.
We're not a very sound community as it is when it comes to credibility. And to have these folks purposely do things like this, or maybe not purposely, but to be dumb enough to not know the difference and put this stuff out there, hurts credibility. It hurts the real sightings. It hurts the real people that are involved having these abduction cases by real, beings or by whatever is abducting them. It really hurts the credibility altogether. And that's what upsets me. That's when I hear somebody like Billy Myers come forward saying all these outlandish things that he says, or Michael Horn as U.S. representative who comes out and says all this nonsense. I look at them and I have to get angry because I know they're lying. I know how they're doing this stuff, and it upsets me. It really does upset me to understand that people believe these people so much and give these people so much money and so much of their time that it really just it detracts from the credibility of ufology. And this is why the mainstream media laughs whenever they report a UFO.
I know, yeah.
It's because of these people. And that's one thing that I think we need to get away from. We need to say no more to people like Billy Myers, to Sheldon Neidl, to Andrew Basiago. No more support for these people. And really try to get to the meat of the matter and to what is really going on in the world of ufology. And there is a lot of truth going on. But you got to get over the BS first and move that out of the way before you can get to the truth.
Well, in this day and age, though, I mean, what do you think would get us over that? Because, I mean, social media is just... And it ain't going away. I mean, oh my gosh! I mean, with all the shows that are out there, the podcasts, the groups, websites, to get through all of this, and find the real evidence. I mean, how is that going to be even possible? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it's very confusing.
People have to open their minds. They have to open their minds. Look, one of the pioneers in doing the kind of radio that I love to hear is Rich Giordano, who has a show on PSN Radio. He's been doing this for about a decade now. Okay. And he was one of the first shows that I heard on podcast that dealt with, calling out the BS of a lot of these folks. And I admire him because of that, because it took real, balls of steel to go out there and say, hey, this guy's a liar. This guy's a hoaxer. This is how he's doing it. Don't believe this crap. And, that's why me and him are good friends. Been friends for a number of years now because of the simple fact that he had really the wherewithal to go out there and put himself out there. And completely expose himself as a person to try to get to the truth of what's going on and to expose some of these liars. And I'm with him 100% on that. From the beginning, I was with him 100% on that because it always has angered me to see the Billy Myers of the world get away with this stuff. You know, Billy Myers, his wife said that he was a hoaxer.
Really? Okay.
And I love the excuse that some of the Billy Myers believers come up with, where like, well, he only had one arm. How the heck did he do this? Yeah, but he also had family members. He had kids. He had a wife. He had friends. He had a lot of people involved that were helping him because they were making money off of this thing. He's created a cult off of his lies.
Yeah.
He's created an income and a following because of his lies. So don't tell me that he had nobody in his corner to help him out. He had a lot of people in his corner, and I've seen how people have duplicated his entire thing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100% with the Billy Meyer and all that. I mean, I feel it's kind of like a cult little setting there going on too, and it's about the income and the money and yeah, I mean, you know, I think the real cases, I mean, I'm smart enough to know that you don't just look at something and go, oh my God, it's a UFO. You got to look at the cases where there's really good evidence to back it up, like who saw it, where they seen it, were there witnesses, the reputation of the people that are seeing. If it's your average Joe, if it's some police officers, the whole backstory behind it is what you got to investigate. You can't just go to a site or go to a show and listen to that person's spiel out everything and just go, oh my God, I can't believe there was a UFO there last night. So I'm smart enough to know that, but for everybody else, like you said, they're getting fed a bunch of BS from all these other people, and it does put a blemish on the community at large, so it's a tough road, huh? I mean, to really get to the truth of the matter on anything really paranormal these days.
The toughest part is it's convincing and de-brainwashing the people from the lies, because some people just want to believe so badly that when they find a nice little story, they stick to it like glue. No matter if you prove them to be, a liar. Look at Stan Romanek a few years ago. He came out with this alien in the window, and people immediately believed him. One of my friends, Alejandro Rojas, was in his corner for, a number of months and a couple of years, actually, supporting him, saying, and not supporting him, financially, but supporting his story and saying that, this is a true story and we should really, dissect this and look into this. And now we kind of know who Stan Romanek really is.
Oh, yeah.
Now we know that the guy is sickle. He's a sick guy. He's a pedophile. He's into all these different things that are not kosher. Yeah. Let's be honest. The guy is not a real experiencer. He's been caught on video hoaxing. And that's on YouTube. Put Stan Romanek hoaxing, and you'll see it yourself. I'm not making that up.
Yeah.
The guy is not legit. But it took, other people like a Rich Giordano to point that out to people. And unfortunately, he got attacked for that. And Stan Romanek made money off of his story, tons and tons of money. And unfortunately, he still has people that believe him.
Oh yeah, you're not.
People don't want to stop believing when they believe something.
Yeah, if you get these people who are dedicated, and you can basically tell them, hey, here's all the proof that person's lying, and they're still going to believe. I mean, yeah, it's like a kind of a brainwashing, or they're so connected with that person that they just don't want to believe that they're lying, so well, I'm gonna have to check out Richard's show then too. Geez. There's maybe another one out there I'll add to the list of podcasts to listen to. So
I mean, you probably heard his original show was called the AZ UFO Show.
Okay, yeah.
Now it's called the Rich Giordano Show. He brought it over to PSN Radio a few weeks ago, and he's been kicking butt on the network there. And he's actually Sunday nights, if you want to listen to him, Sunday nights at 10 p.m. to midnight.
Perfect. Is that Eastern time?
Eastern time, yeah.
Eastern time. Cool. Yeah. Cool, man. Well, what else should we get into? I'd like to talk about, I don't know how much you know about demonology and exorcism, stuff like that. I mean, do you? I know you believe in ghosts because you've witnessed it as a child.
Right.
Do you believe in the evil side, the demons, spirits, the stuff like that?
Yes and no. I do think there's, and it goes back to aliens, believe it or not. Okay. I think there's been a lot of misidentification of things over the last few hundred years. For example, I don't think that demons are what we would perceive as demons. I don't think there's any truth I mean, I can't prove it one way or the other, but my personal opinion is I don't think demons are what we think are demons from like from the other dimension or another side or from another realm. I think what people have perceived as demons might be some kind of alien interaction which was misidentified. Just like I think leprechauns were aliens which were misidentified. Because if you think about it, 300, 400 years ago, if a little small gray is running around in somebody's yard, they have no concept of what aliens are, so they're going to be like, "Oh, it's a leprechaun."
Huh. Okay.
They'll come up with a mythology to fit whatever paradigm they're in.
Right.
And that's what I think has happened over the last several hundred years, where people have misidentified things and called something one thing when it really has something to do with aliens. I think it's a lot more has to do with aliens than anything else. Now, could there be any truth to demons or to poltergeists or stuff like that? Yeah, there could be. But I really think that a lot of it is just misidentification of an alien interaction. Look, if aliens are so high, especially high in technology, that they can come from another star system here, I am pretty sure they could walk around your house without you even seeing them.
Right, yeah.
It can be cloaked or whatever. Maybe when you see a ghost out of the corner of the eye, maybe that's just an alien that you kind of saw their cloaking. And they made a kind of a weird move, and you saw it. You saw a little glimpse of what they're doing. I think that might be part of it. Also, when people say they wake up in the middle of the night and they can't move, and they feel like they're being taken aboard a ship, back then that could have been taken as like I'm being possessed by a demon.
Right. Yeah.
Or a poltergeist is attacking you or something like that. But I think a lot of it has to do more with aliens than with an actual demon possession. And I would hate to think that demons are spending that much time on Earth, just fooling around with people. That to me is a waste of time.
Well, yeah. No. I had when I was a child, I had night terrors, and they were so bad that I would be, and I never knew what was going on the whole time that I was up. Running around my mother said I had such rage in my face that it was not even funny. But I had no recollection of anything happening until they splashed cold water in my face. But I would think back in the day, you see somebody running, he's possessed, he's, something's going on there,
right.
And possibly.
Now we wouldn't look at it and be like, okay, maybe there's a mental issue with the person, because now science has evolved to the fact that we know that a lot of folks that back then would have been considered possessed might just be suffering from a mental disorder.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And let's be honest, and I'm not trying to insult the listening population here, but there's a lot of crazy people on this planet. There's a lot of people with mental illnesses on this planet, period.
There are
a lot of them.
Yeah.
Now, how deep the mental disorders go, well, that's, each individual. I've seen some people that look like they're possessed by demons, and they're just that, SHIT crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and drugs. We're
that's another thing. Yeah. Look, we had here in Florida, we had a guy a couple years ago who ate a homeless man's face.
Yes.
He was on bath salts. Mm-hmm. Or whatever the heck he was on.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
That's not something you see every day. But, when you look at that, if you don't know any better, you'll be like, oh, he was possessed by a demon. That's why he ate the guy's face.
Or he's a zombie, which people were talking about, the 28 days later.
But in reality, it's a mental disorder. The guy was just crazy. That's all it was. It's a mental disorder. He didn't get treated properly. He was on some kind of drug that made it worse. And that's the end result.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. But how about you do believe in ghosts or
definitely I do believe in the afterlife.
Okay, so believing that somebody did pass on, you do believe that. Do you believe that they're limbo, stuck? What are your thoughts on that?
I hope not.
Oh, me too.
I really hope not, because I would hate to think that when we die, we don't go to the light and we don't go to the other side. We just kind of stay here wandering around. It makes for a great movie, like the movie Ghost. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
But in reality, I would hope that's not the case. For example, my mother just passed away in March, and that rocked my world. That was the worst thing that ever happened to me. I was suicidal for a couple of weeks.
Oh, man.
And I'm not joking about that. That really, really was tough on me.
Sorry to hear that.
I cried for nights because it was my mother. It was my best friend. It was my entire world was my mother. I loved her to death. And when she passed away, my father and I were in the room with her, and my father was looking right at her face. I was arguing with the nurse. That's a long story, but I was yelling at the nurse for mistreating something that was going on with my mother.
Yeah.
And my father saw her last breath, and I saw her last breath. My father was a little closer to her, and he saw a mist leaving her body. as she passed away.
Really?
I didn't see that, but my father did, and my father would not lie to me about that. He saw it, and he shook him to the point where he left the room immediately, and he pulled me to the side when, we were trying to calm down because we're, we're aggravated at what's going on. And he told me, listen, I just saw this and I don't know how to deal with this. And it's something that to this day he doesn't like to talk about. Just a few months later, he would not talk about it because it really scared the heck out of him.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a spirit. I do think when, we die, we leave the body and, we return to the energy grid of the universe.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it heaven, whatever, the afterlife.
Right.
I do think we return to our energy source, our energy grid.
So you don't believe that some get stuck here then, or you just hope that that's not the case?
I'll leave it open to debate, but I really would hope not. I mean, to me, it would be terrifying to think that we might die and might just be stuck around here walking around. That'd be a terrible way to spend eternity.
I agree with you.
You can't get paid, you can't get chicks, you can't just walk around. What the hell, man? That's not cool.
No, that's true. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, you got. Well, I ain't going to say shows. I mean, but what do you think of the EVPs and stuff that people get? I mean, do you think that's really coming from the afterlife? Do you think it's BS? I mean, what are your thoughts?
It could be coming from the afterlife. It could be maybe a manifestation of something that was recorded in the room. I do think there are ghostly activities that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I do think there is some interaction. I don't think they're stuck here, but I think they find their way back here at some point to interact with us, especially some that really don't want to be dead. Maybe they're the ones that come back mostly because they just don't want to be on the other side. But I don't believe in reincarnation. At least I hope not, because I don't want to come back. If I die, I just don't want to come back.
You don't want to come back to this planet we're on?
No. Why?
I know. No, I'm
Why?
with you there.
Face more lies and taxes? No, thank you. I'll pass. Just leave me alone.
Yes.
I'll be okay. But there may be some people that want to come back because they love it here so much, and I think those are the ones that make their way back to Earth. And they just, they may wander around because they really want to be here.
Or miss their family, or some kind of connection.
Family, right? I mean, which could happen. Hey, if my mother showed up in my house and tried to contact me, I would be open to it. I would love to see her again.
Right. Yeah.
Even if it's a spirit form, I would love to have that interaction with her again. Yeah. So that could be maybe a loved one that passes away wants to come back to bring closure to the family member, to let them know that things are going to be okay. And that's fine. I mean, I do think that's a possibility.
Okay. Yeah. So then, because I'm trying to get to the evil side of things here a little bit. I'm trying to. So I mean, you probably don't have a problem talking religion. I mean. You do believe there's a heaven and hell?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe in heaven or hell.
Either
I think
or.
We're in hell now.
Oh.
This is hell.
You know what? I mean, it's funny you say that because I've thought. I mean, it's been something that's been in my head for, my God, since I was a teenager. I don't know why I've always thought this. I'm just like, if there is a hell, then this is probably where we're at right now. I mean.
Yeah.
With all of the evil that's going on in the world, and I mean, geez, I mean, how can a serial killer take and kill however many children? I mean, and if there's a God, why you let that happen? And so I mean, yeah, I mean, I could be with you there that this is hell.
Let me put it this way: I'm spiritual, but I'm not a believer in God per se.
Mm-hmm.
I think God is a man-made creation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm with George Carlin on this. I don't think there's a guy with a beard sitting in the sky smoking a cigarette, looking over us, judging our every move.
Yeah.
Because if he's an all-loving God, why would he smite us if we don't believe in him? Why would he allow Hitler to do what he did to the poor Jewish people back then? Why would he allow murderers to kill kids and rapists to rape women and children? Why would he allow these things, right? Why would God allow that if he loves us? Why would he condemn us to that damnation? So I don't think there's a God that controls everything and is always looking, because if that's the case, then he's a really piss-poor God, because he's allowing a lot of evil stuff to happen for no reason. Or he can easily interact and say, hey, stop this.
You know what? People will tell you there's a reason behind it, the religious side of it. But I mean,
yeah, but none of that makes any sense.
No, I agree with you. I'm just.
I mean, one of the rhetoric is like, well, he gave Lucifer, some time to control the earth. Why would he do that? That makes even less sense.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna let the evil one control the planet for several 100,000 million years.
No, I think we're here to do as we may, and whether it's hell or if we are actually just part of the universe and we are a life form that grew from the almighty creator, whether that be a energy source or whatever. I mean, I don't think any of us truly really know where we came from, where the beginning started. I mean, my thought is everybody says the Big Bang, we came from a little pinpoint and stuff. And even if that were the case, you know, it's like, what happened before that, and what created that spark? I mean, you know, it just, none of this makes sense.
No, look, first of all, that's all scientific theory and it's nonsense because we cannot go back in time and look at the Big Bang. So when I hear scientists say, well, the universe is 13 billion years old and the Earth is 4.7 billion years old, how do you measure that, first of all? What ruler did you use to measure this? Because it makes no sense. You can't, you know, legitimately tell me that you know these numbers are fact.
Yep.
It's impossible. And what happened before the Big Bang? We don't know if there was even a Big Bang. We know space is infinite, right? So if it's infinite, then there was never a Big Bang. It's just always been there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right? Now, here's the thing. They're saying, well, space is expanding. Sure, it's always moving around and expanding and doing a thing. But here's the kicker. You know, when we put Hubble up there, we saw galaxies further away than we've ever seen. Mm-hmm. There's going to be a new telescope now that's going to be past the moon where it's going to see even further out. Yep. And it's going to see so much further out that they're saying, well, maybe the universe is not 13 billion years old. Maybe it's more like 20-something billion years old. So the number keeps inflating, right? Because science does not have a clue of anything. It's all theories. It's all people coming up with numbers and digits to kind of keep people entertained, and that's really what's behind this whole thing. You know, it's like string theory, right? Yes. Science has adapted this as a reality. What the name itself tells you that it's not a reality. It's a theory. You can't prove it. String theory. It's not string fact. Yes. But yet they still push it down our throats like if it's a reality. When in reality, it's just a theory made up by smart people, sure, who came up with this nonsense, but smart people that come up with stuff like Billy Myers, stuff that cannot be proven.
Oh man, yeah. Telling you, man, AJ, I'm loving this, man. You're awesome. This is cool, man.
No, look, I have issues with science. I have issues with religious folks. I have issues with hoaxers. I have a lot of issues. I have more issues with Time Magazine.
Well, no, hey, I'm the same way. I have, you know, it's not that. I'm questioning everything. I mean, when you don't know anything, you know, truly know anything, you got to ask questions. And when everybody's, you know, telling you their side of the story, this and that, which just makes it more confusing. It's just like, and there are no hard facts, like you just said. You know, it's just, you know, it gets you a little pissed off. It gets you, you know, it actually, I'm at the point to where I throw my arms up in the air. I don't know where to go with anything because everybody's got so many different stories, you know?
Yeah.
I'm still with the point of, you know, how the heck are we here? You know? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, I guess I shouldn't dive too deep into it because are we really ever going to find out? I mean, I'm hoping that once I die, my energy will go somewhere, but then that's where I get to, like, all my relatives and people important in my life that have passed on. Why is it that I'm not asking for them to come for contact. That would be nice, right. But why don't we know anything? You know what I mean?
I'll tell you this much. It's been a few months since my mom passed away. My mother was the strongest person I have ever known. She was a very strong-willed lady. She was the matriarch of the family. She kept everybody together. She was like a general. Okay? Mm-hmm. If she has not come back and told me something for anything I've made a mistake over the last few months, then there's no truth to any of that. Because if anybody's going to come back and lecture you on something you've made a mistake on, it's my mother.
Yeah.
That's what she was good for. She was good at lecturing us and teaching us right from wrong. And I have the upbringing that I have, you know, because of her and my father, because they were just amazing parents. Mm-hmm. And they taught me right from wrong. I've never gotten in trouble with the law because of my parents, because they taught me right from wrong. Whenever I did get in trouble in school, they lectured me about it. They didn't, you know, I didn't get beat. I didn't get hit or spanked. I didn't even get grounded throughout my entire childhood. Okay. But they were good parents to the fact that they would sit me down and they would lecture me to what I was doing wrong and what I need to do, you know, to be a good person and what to do right. Now, mind you, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. Okay. I was raised in that religion, and when I was 14, I started reading the Bible seriously because I started asking questions. Mm-hmm. And you know, religious people, the one thing they hate is people with questions. They hate that. They want you
Right.
to just sit there and take it as it is, but they hate when you start questioning things like, why is slavery okay in the Bible in the eyes of God? They hate that because that's something they don't want to answer. They want to give you the cheap carbon copy answers that they give every week.
Yeah.
And I started questioning things, and that's what got me motivated to learn more about religion and to question what was in the Bibles and to question authority and to question science. And my mother and father were really proactive in allowing me to do this, and they said, you know what, you have a point, you should question things, you should not just stay quiet and just be a sheeple. You should question these things. And to this day, my father is now agnostic. He believes there's some kind of a God, but he's not Jehovah's Witness. He left the religion also. My mother was not religious. In fact, before she passed, and this is a pretty funny story, a few days before she passed, like 4 or 5 days before, there was a priest that came to the hospital to pray for her or whatnot. And me being completely non-religious, I told him, listen, we're not religious. I'm not, I don't practice your religion, so I'm not going to pray. I have my own way of dealing with this, and I'll pray inwards if I have to, or I'll talk to my mother and deal with it my own way. But if she wants to, by all means, ask her. And this was in English. My mother only spoke Spanish, by the way.
Okay.
And the gentleman went and asked her, "Do you want me to pray for you?" My mother looked at him and said, "Get the hell out of here. Just leave."
Did she really? Wow.
Yeah, just like that. She waved him off. She's like, "Yeah, get the hell out of here." In Spanish, mind you. And the reason she did this because she understands that her life is coming to an end. Nothing that he's going to pray over is going to make a difference.
Right.
It's just a waste of time, is a waste of energy, and she'd rather just sit there and watch some TV before she goes.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. No, I hear you, and that, like I said, I don't know what happens. I'm just, I guess.
That's the beauty of life. We don't know anything. The more we think we know, the less we know. In fact, we know very little about our own planet. Yeah. We know very little what's in the water, under the ocean. We know very little about anything, but yet everybody thinks they have an answer.
Exactly.
And the people who tell you right off the bat, "Oh, I know what's going on. I know about heaven and hell and this and that. I know everything." Those are the biggest con artists and liars on the planet.
Oh my God! Yeah, you know what? I don't want to offend too many people, but you're exactly.
Start naming names.
you're exactly right though. The most diehard people are some of the most can I say most evil people too? But
yeah, definitely. Hey, look, the church. Let's go to the church for a second.
Yeah.
How many pedophiles have not been priests have been covered up by the Pope?
Mm-hmm. I know.
The most evil sin that a man can do is to molest a child. There's nothing more evil than that. But yet the priests that molest children get helped by the Pope, and they get moved to different areas.
Yeah.
There's been hundreds of cover-ups by the church.
I know. Yeah. Oh, boy, I tell you. And even reincarnation. I had an issue with that. If we are reincarnated, how come we don't retain any information from the past lives? Unless you're put under by a hypnotist who will tell you and, get information out of you that you were a king in your past life. And, I see nothing to reincarnation either. How about you?
I've seen maybe 1 or 2 cases in my studies over the last 15 years. Because I was interested in reincarnation for a little bit.
Okay.
And I did a little homework on it. And I've seen maybe 1 or 2 cases where were intriguing, where I would say maybe that kid or that person was reincarnated. There was one kid in particular. I can't remember the kid's name.
You know what? Go ahead.
But I saw this one documentary of a kid who started telling his mom since he was like 4 years old or 3 years old that he was killed in a war and he was a pilot and he was shot down. And he started mentioning the way the city that he lived in looked like, the house, his siblings, the dog that was in the house. He mentioned so many things that the mother got really creeped out and said, "You know what? Let's go a little further and start, investigating some of this stuff." Eventually, they ended up finding the house that the kid described. They ended up finding the family that the kid described. They found the sister of the person that he described that he was.
Yes.
And the sister said that he even called her by the nickname that they would use when they were young kids.
Yes. So see, now I'm going to backtrack on what I just said, although just a little bit. I do believe it, because when you hear stories like that with the children, there was a few other ones that I've heard too, where you're like, holy, there's no way that he can know this stuff. But I mean, I was basically talking about myself really, because I don't remember anything. And like I've told you, I'm questioning everything because I've had nothing, no experiences, no nothing. So for me to say I was reincarnated, I'm just saying I don't remember a damn thing. So it's like, but then again, like you just said, I that totally was out of my mind. And you do get stories like that do, sound legit. I mean, how can they not be? How could the kid have come up with that story? So,
Right.
It's just very odd. I don't know. Everything's just a mystery on this planet, man. I just tell you. And boy, monsters too. How about that? If we're not going to get into demons, really, I mean, which can be categorized as monsters, how about all the like Bigfoot? I mean, what do you think of Bigfoot?
I haven't seen any evidence suggesting that Bigfoot is real.
Yeah.
I've seen nothing but hoaxers come forward with hoaxes and get busted time and time again. It's a nice theory. I mean, I'd love to show Harry and the Hendersons, and I would love to see an actual Sasquatch, walking around. That'd be great. I have a hard time believing in stuff that there's no evidence to it, and that people have been busted hoaxing it over and over and over again.
Right.
That's where I kind of draw the line. And also, let's be fair, Bigfoot kind of looks like Chewbacca to me in a way.
He does, no, for a fact. But did they get Chewbacca from Bigfoot? Because I mean, technically, Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Yeti, all these things, all over the world, the whole planet has their stories. I mean,
right.
they've gone hundreds of years, even thousands in some cases, on paintings and stuff, folklore. So the story's been around forever, but are we misinterpreting what it is? Like everything else we do.
Hey, look, a lot of it comes from the South, from the time of moonshine, and I'm pretty sure some good old boys were drinking the moonshine, and they were like, "Oh, that's a Bigfoot! Look at that!" And it was just a bear.
It's a blurry bear running at them. Bear.
Yeah. That I think is about 80% of the cases of Bigfoot. And to be honest, I don't really. I'm not a proponent of the Bigfoot theory or mythology. I just, like I said, I haven't seen any evidence, and I would love to see some evidence. Hell, I'd love to eat my words and say, "Okay, yeah, I believe Bigfoot is real," but show me the evidence. Look, if there's a creature or creatures of that size running around the woods, at some point or another in the last 50 years, somebody would have shot it and dragged this body out to show everybody, "Hey, listen, I found a Bigfoot, I shot it, here it is."
No, I agree with you.
Why has that not happened yet? Why is it that every time somebody says they have a body, it turns out to be a suit full of meat in a trunk somewhere or in a freezer? And it's always a suit. It's not a real body. It's just a hoax. Why is that always the case?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they tell you, well, I mean, of course, the population of bear are way greater than a supposedly Bigfoot family or whatever. But you can walk through the woods for hours and hours and never see any bear bones or anything like that. And that's kind of what they say. They're elusive, or they'll say they're interdimensional. They could be a species from another planet. They pop here, pop back, interdimensional, and so I mean, more theories.
It's possible, but it's also a way to disguise the fact that there's no evidence.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And here's the thing. Again, if it's interdimensional, if you see a Bigfoot taking a crap in the woods somewhere, and you're walking around, you're like, "Oh my God, there's a Bigfoot." Why does this person not shoot it?
No,
I love animals, but. That debate completely. Shoot it in the head, drag the body to where there's people, and be like, "Listen, here's a Bigfoot. He might be interdimensional, but he was in our dimension, and I shot him."
Yeah.
End of the debate. That's it. It's over. But it has never happened. There's not even been good video evidence of one of these things. So that's where I'm at with Bigfoot. And it's funny that we bring up Bigfoot and stuff because on our show on Skywatchers, we have a little a nickname for people and things that we don't believe, that we think either is a hoax or are hoaxers. We call it Bat Squatch.
Bat Squatch, okay.
Whenever we don't believe something, we're like, "Oh, that's Bat Squatch." That's nonsense. And the term Bat Squatch came from a good friend of mine who was on the show as a guest, Paul Dale Roberts, who brought that term to us. We had never heard it before. And we interviewed him on the show, and he's talking about this new creature that people are seeing called the Bat Squatch. And it's this giant 7-foot, Sasquatch-looking thing with bat wings that's flying around. And I'm like, really? If there's a thing like that flying around in New York or anywhere, there's going to be mass hysteria, and people are going to witness this thing and videotape, especially with technology nowadays.
Heck yeah.
They're going to record this thing flying around. Now, here's the thing. When I looked up Batsquatch, the first thing I saw was a cartoon somebody made of a Bigfoot with a Batman suit over it. And I thought it was funny as all hell. And I said, all right, from now on, every time we don't believe something, Batsquatch. That's what we're going to call it.
Oh, man. Is that a relatively new...
It's a relatively new phenomenon, Batsquatch.
Okay, yeah, because that's actually the first I've heard of it. Yeah, wow, Batsquatch, okay.
Look it up on Google. I'm sure if you could do Google
Batsquatch.
Images, you'll see the exact cartoon I'm talking about. When you see it, you're going to laugh your ass off. It's really funny.
Oh, I'm going to look it up. That's right. Do you have a YouTube channel that you guys put stuff up on?
Oh, I have way too many.
Okay, so...
we have a PSN Radio YouTube channel, which has a lot of the shows archived on there.
Okay.
We have Skywatchers Radio's own YouTube channel. I have my own Inside the Jackal's Head, which was a radio broadcast show. Now I'm going to be doing more video stuff in the near future for that channel. That was my original radio show, but I'm not going to do that as radio anymore because I've kind of I've worn out when it comes to radio, when it comes to that show.
Yeah.
I've interviewed hundreds and hundreds of people on that show already.
Wow.
And it's one of those things where you can only do so many shows and do it on radio.
Oh, yeah,
So
of course.
I said, I'm going to stick to Skywatchers. I'm going to do Skywatchers. I'll do production for other shows. But I don't want to completely kill off Inside the Jackal's Head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that into a video show, and it's going to be 10, 15-minute videos of me talking about subjects that I love, but on video, and maybe doing interviews like I interviewed Franklin E. Wales, who's an author who wrote a zombie book called Deadhead's Evolution, and I interviewed him on there, and we talked about his book, and I interviewed Mark McKenna, who worked for DC and Marvel, and he's one of the biggest icons, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to comic books.
Yeah.
And I did a live interview with him on there.
Cool.
I went to MegaCon and been to Wizard World, which are comic book conventions, did live stuff on there. We're going to go again to the symposium here in Orlando, which takes place this month on the 25th, 26th, and 27th. Is the MUFON Symposium in Orlando. And we're going to do some video recording for Skywatchers, though. But it's something that I want to do more and more of, is live video recording, because audio is great, radio is fantastic, but the future of the medium is video.
Oh yeah, and I think it's
exaggerating too. So
yeah, no, and it's a different avenue, for your listeners and your followers, and so that's why I always think video is a good thing to add to a radio show, because like you said, it is kind of the future, So, and you said you're going to be in Orlando. You're going to be on a panel, Skywatchers Radio.
Well, we're going to have our table there. We're going to do interviews with some of the folks that are going to be doing actual lectures and stuff. I was thinking about doing maybe a speaking thing over there and maybe doing something, but I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. It's going to be my first MUFON convention or symposium. Okay. So I think I'm going to go to this one and just kind of feel my way across and see, what the whole thing is like. And then maybe next year or in the future, I'll do, a little bit more we're definitely going to do a lot of video recording and a lot of on-air, stuff for YouTube and maybe some live YouTube stuff, there as well. So I mean, we're gonna take over MUFON this month and some crazy stuff on their symposium.
Cool. That sounds
fun
good.
Stuff. Crazy fun stuff.
No, yeah, I'm a big fan of the YouTube videos, of course, and so I'll be checking that stuff out for sure. I mean, that's definitely something that catches me, because I've got, and I think I'm like a lot of people, I've got the iPad on my lap, and when I go to bed, I put the headphones on and I'll skip around and look at YouTube videos of, some of the stuff I like, and fall to sleep that way. So I think it's a very good medium, and that'll be cool that you guys are starting to do that stuff. So very cool. Yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else we haven't covered here. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We could end it here if you want. It's pretty late. Are you East Coast, Angel?
I'm East Coast, yeah. I'm East Coast, and I'm one of those folks that barely sleeps.
Really?
So I'm a complete night owl. I sleep like 3 hours, 4 hours a night, and I'm done. You know, I like to be awake. I always tell everybody
Hmm.
that I'll get enough sleep when I die. So while I'm still alive, I'm going to be as awake as possible and have the blinders off and digest as much information as I possibly can. I don't know about you, but I'm an avid reader. I read 4 or 5 books a month. I
Love
try to
reading,
stay
yeah.
on top of the internet and see what's going on with the internet. I always try to give myself as much knowledge as possible, and that's something that was taught to me by my parents. My parents always said, teach yourself, because you're not going to be taught by the school system. You're not going to be taught by others. You got to really, make sure that you want to learn stuff. You want to teach yourself as much as you possibly can. And I didn't learn anything in high school except for, how to pick up girls. That's really all I learned. All my knowledge comes from me just picking up books and reading it myself, and from going on the internet and learning about people and interacting with folks and stuff. And that, to me, knowledge is the key to everything. Knowledge is the key to life. If you don't have knowledge, you'll stay ignorant and you'll stay behind the curve. So for anybody who's listening, if you really want to get smart on life, forget school, because school is a waste of time. But you know how many people with PhDs are working at McDonald's right now? A lot of them.
Oh no, I know.
Teach yourself facts. Pick up a book.
Yep.
Pick up 2 books. Pick up religious works. I love reading. Look, the Bible is a great work of fiction. I love the Bible, but it is fiction for most part, with some truth sprinkled in there.
Right. Yeah.
But I've read the King James Version. I've read the Old Testament. I've read the Torah. I've read the Quran. I've read a lot of the different works that are out there, because I
Really?
wanted to
Okay.
get that knowledge of where we were thousands of years ago and where we are now, and what we were thinking then, what we were thinking now. And this way I could kind of have an understanding of the totality of what the planet is like and what it's been like, so I could have open debates with people when they start bringing up stupid facts or start bringing up stupid ideas that they have, and know what I'm talking about.
Well, how different are the different Bibles and different religions? They got to be very vast in their differences, or no?
Not necessarily. For example, the Quran. You know who one of the most quoted prophets in the Quran is? This will trip you out.
No, go ahead.
Jesus.
Okay.
You
Really?
probably wouldn't expect that, right? You expect,
No.
Muhammad.
No. Yeah.
No, but Muhammad was a Jesus fan. He was a fanboy, and he's quoted heavily in the Quran. He's not the most, but he's one of the most quoted prophets in the Quran. But the thing is, their ideology is different from the Old Testament, and the New Testament is a complete, wash, because it's a King James version for the most part that we adhere to here in the U.S. The King James version has been rewritten hundreds of times.
Yep.
If God has a single idea, why is it being rewritten so much, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah. I mean,
The reason is because
yeah.
it's mankind writing what they want you to believe.
Yes.
Every piece of work, whether it's religious based, whether is scientific based, is people trying to indoctrinate people into their way of believing things. Especially in religion, was the number one the number one cause of this the whole thing. Religion started because people wanted to control the population. What better way to control people than to write a book and say, "Hey, it's the word of God.
Yes.
If you don't believe it, you're going to hell, but He loves you."
No.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when you look at life like that, and when you start dissecting the things that are in these books, for example, the Muslim religion is, and I hate to say this, but it's one of the most ugliest religions on the planet, because of the simple fact that a good Muslim is considered, and this is a true fact, a good Muslim is a person who fights the infidel, which would be you and I, somebody who doesn't believe in Islam. Well, I don't know about yourself if you're a Muslim or not, but
No.
a good Muslim is a person who fights the infidel till the death and controls others and makes them become Muslim. That's a good Muslim.
Huh.
So in other words, a good Muslim is a guy who kills people and blows people up, and if you don't convert, you're going to die. That's a good Muslim. A bad Muslim is a person who does not want to harm anybody, who just wants to go about their life and live their life normally and peacefully. That's considered a bad Muslim in the Quran. So if you think about it like that, you're like, wait a second, how could that be? How can this religion?
Yeah, I'm kind of dumb to the whole Muslim religion, because I don't, I've never read the Quran, or I do see people praying and doing their morning prayers and saying that, and they seem like the nicest people on around. But yeah, I mean, if the whole book is just about the infidels and killing. I mean, it has nothing to do with their God, or I mean, what's?
No, it does. It has stories about the way they believe that God is. It has different things in there, but that's the number one message is that and that's why you get the Muslim extremists that do what they're doing, because they're brainwashed into believing this fabrication created by the Prophet Muhammad, who the only reason he created this religion was because he wanted to marry multiple women that were underage. He had 12 and 13-year-old wives. He was a pedophile.
Yeah.
And to be able to, accept himself as a pedophile and to be able to put himself out there, he created his own religion because he knew he was going to be looked down upon by other religions. The Mormons are the same. The Mormons only got created because this one guy wanted to marry multiple women.
I was going to say the same thing, yeah.
So he created his own religion because his religion back then, Christianity, would not allow that. You see what I'm saying? So, every religion is an offshoot of other religions because there are reasons why these people defect from their religion. Because they need to find a way to, to not only accept themselves, but to give forgiveness to themselves for their evil ways. So they create a religion saying that it's okay in God's eyes to be this way.
Yeah.
That's why you have, in the Middle East, you have 12-year-old and 13-year-old girls that are marrying 40 and 50-year-olds, and to them it's okay. That happens still today, folks.
No, no, it's a messed up world, Angel, man. That's why I don't read the news. I don't watch the news. I mean, and that's kind of dumb on my part, I guess, to a point. But I got to a point to where I'm like, everything on here is sad, depressing, and it's kind of the same old all the time. It's not. I hate to put down the planet, and because there's a lot of beauty in there. There's a lot of good people, but I mean, if you look at it as a whole, the evil is just. I mean, it overpowers, and it just, for a person like me who just takes all that in, it's just, I just look at it in a different light and stuff, and kind of everything you said there with, that's why I don't get into religion, really. I don't really ever talk about it, because you can talk and tell people the way you think, and they're not going to listen.
Right, because they've been indoctrinated to believe a lie.
Exactly. Yeah.
And they've been brainwashed over their whole lives. See, here's the thing. Nobody grows up just believing something or knowing something. You're taught everything. You're taught religion. You're taught racism. You're taught bigotry. You're taught to love. You're taught to hate. You're taught all these things, whether it's by your parents, by the people around you, your churches, your friends, or whatever. These things are taught to us. We're conditioned by our environment. We're conditioned by our surroundings.
Yeah.
I was fortunate that I had great parents, growing up, and I was conditioned properly to be a free thinker and to have my own, thought, and to be a person that questions things, and to love others as I would like to be loved. I don't harm anybody. Why? Because I don't want to get harmed. You know what I mean? I treat others with respect because I want to be treated with respect.
Oh yeah, same here.
I extend that hand out to anybody who needs it because that's what I would want if I'm in the situation that I need a hand extended out to me. I was raised that way, but not everybody's raised that way, and that's because of the conditioning they're in, the conditioning that they grew up in. So I understand why some folks are so bent on believing their religion because they don't know any better. But when you really dissect it, when you really look at religion, what is all the religious works? For example. Let's talk about Jesus for a second.
Yep.
Jesus is one of my favorite made-up characters in the history of the planet. Jesus, and I'm not saying Jesus, the person, didn't walk the earth.
Right. No,
there was a guy, I think, that walked the earth named Jesus.
Yeah, your thoughts are exactly the same as mine, I'm sure, but go ahead.
Now, my Jesus that I believe existed and the Jesus the Bible says existed are completely night and day different. Now, the Jesus that I think existed was a guy named Isu, who lived, the same time period as Jesus, and that name was given to him as a name that he used when he went undercover because he left in hiding for X amount of years, right?
Yeah.
If the story is correct, that he left and came back when he was 33. The person I believe was modeled, the Jesus Christ figure, was Caesar Caesarion. Now, let's talk about history for a second. I'm sure you're familiar with Cleopatra and Mark Antony and Julius Caesar and all these figures from history. Julius Caesar and Cleopatra had a baby called Caesar Caesarion. which is, by the way, why the woman, when they have a C-section, is called a cesarean. It's named after this kid. Huh. And Caesar Caesarean is also the figure in the Little Caesars box, Pizza Pizza.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Okay. Caesar Caesarean lived in the same time period as Jesus. Same storyline. When he was born, Julius Caesar was killed in battle. He was betrayed and killed. He was elevated to the status of God, right? His son, his only son, was sent away by Cleopatra because that's her son also. You know, she had it with Julius Caesar. When he was a boy, she sent him away with a peasant couple that were friends of hers. That couple being Joseph and Mary. And that's actually something you can look up and you will find that connection. And Joseph was a carpenter. Mary was his 12-year-old wife. Because back then, that kind of stuff was, you know, not as frowned upon.
Right.
And she was also his niece. Now, that gives you the reason why she's called the Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
She was a virgin because she was a child.
Right.
This boy was sent off to live with his family to be raised in hiding because of the fact that Julius Caesar's stepson, Octavius, wanted to take control of the Roman Empire. And when he wanted to take control of the Roman Empire, there was somebody standing in his way, the rightful heir of the Roman Empire, Caesar Caesarean, the son of Julius Caesar. So he literally went on a crusade to have this boy killed. So Cleopatra sent him away to save his life. He came back years later to regain the throne of Rome, the old Roman Empire. He gets back, he sees, wait a second, I can't do this by myself because Octavian has a family. I mean, he has an army. You know, it's not just me. You know, I can't do this by myself. So he created a religious movement. And he used that as a way to be able to dethrone the Roman Empire and create what is now known as the New Roman Empire, which created the Vatican, the churches, and also is the reason why for 400 years you couldn't depict Jesus what he looked like. You couldn't draw an image of him. You couldn't talk about him because they didn't want you to understand who he really was because they wanted to create this mythological creature, which is the Holy Jesus.
Yeah.
Now, the Holy Jesus also took all its attributes from another holy being, Horus of Egypt. Thousands of years before the Jesus character was created, there was a mythology of Horus and Set. And this being was born on December 25th of a virgin named Isis, which, by the way, Isis, kind of funny, that's what they called it, right?
Yeah.
Terrorist. Isis.
Wow.
And Horus would fight Set every night, and then when the nighttime would come, that means Set won the battle, and then we would have sunset, which is where that term comes from. I'm sure anybody who's seen the film Zeitgeist kind of understands that mythology. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's an amazing film.
Okay.
And that happened 5,000, maybe, thousands of years before this Jesus character. So why is it that Jesus has the same attributes as Horus? Why is it that Mithra and other deities have the same attributes? Because every religion is always looking for their Messiah figure. They're always looking for that coming of the Lord, right? They're always looking for that person who's going to take away the sins of man, and it's going to make us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's all they create. When they created Jesus, they wanted to create that figure because, again, they wanted to scare the heck out of people and give them the law of God. And here is the book of Jesus. Here's the book of God. Obey the laws. This guy died for your sins on the cross.
I've never heard it told that way before, especially with Caesar and all that, but yeah, no, that's exactly what I think. I think it was made to keep people in line, and so I have the same thoughts on that for sure.
There's a couple of great works you can look up on the internet. One of them is a documentary called The Ring of Power, and it starts with 9/11. It goes all the way back to the time of Jesus and further back, and it talks about the Vikings and all kinds of things. When you look at that documentary, it actually connects the dots for you. And then it allows you to actually do your own homework, which I love. I love when things connect the dots for me, and then it allows me to do my own homework and prove that it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
When you do your own homework and you start looking at the things that it's talking about, and you start saying, well, this is real, this is real, this is real. Oh, my God, all of this stuff is real. That's when your eyes are going to open up.
Wow.
So
what's
check that out.
What's
check
the
that
name
out.
of that document?
Ring of Power or Empire of the City. It goes by two different names.
Okay. Got that down. Yeah, I'm going to definitely look at that. Wow, man, that's... Yeah. But, man, you're going to... people want to listen to that and be hating, but I don't care. That's all right. I've kind of had that same thought my whole life, pretty much. So yeah.
Look, and it's not just that one, documentary. Look, there's a book called by Ralph Ellis called "Jesus: The Last of the Pharaohs," which touches on this exact, topic.
Wow.
And read that book.
Yeah, is that where you got this? Is that where you got that story from, like that you just?
Yeah, part of the story is from that book, but it has to do with the fact that this person went to the Himalayas. He spoke to the monks. The monks have history of a man named Isu. Or Isis, or not Isis, Isu or Isa, which is translation for Jesus. That studied with the Dalai Lama, learned the ways of the Buddha, and it all correlates to the same time period as Caesar Caesarion. It also all correlates to the storyline of Jesus and Caesar Caesarion, which again is the same exact storyline. When you I don't want to give too much away of the film, but when you watch the documentary Ring of Power, you're going to see all the players that even was involved with Jesus, Mary Magdalene, all these different, the twins, all these different characters that you would know, like Judas. It's all talked about.
Wow.
As being connected to this one person, Caesar Caesarion. Now we all know Julius Caesar existed, right?
Right. Yeah.
We all know that Cleopatra existed.
Well, yeah, supposedly. Yeah.
Well, supposedly. I mean, if you believe history.
Right.
Now, if you believe history, Cleopatra was brown-skinned. She wasn't a white woman. She was from Egypt, right?
Yes.
And, of course, Julius Caesar was a white guy, right?
Right.
So their offspring would be probably mulatto, dark skin, but not, black, in the middle.
Yeah.
What does the Bible depict Jesus to be like?
Yeah, in the middle. Yeah.
Right. A man with skin of bronze and hair like wool.
Yeah.
Not the white guy with blue eyes that the religious folks want you to believe. The own Bible is telling you who this guy was.
No.
You just got to open your eyes and learn how to connect the dots. That's it. When you do that, believe me, things are going to start opening up more and more to you, and you're going to see more and more of the fallacies and the lies that we've been fed throughout the years.
No, see, this is why I don't usually talk religion. I've got all this stuff written down now that I'm going to have to go and which is good because I just because I don't talk about it too much doesn't mean I'm not interested. It's very interesting to me, and I mean, if you don't seek out the knowledge yourself and go through the historical records and line up the dots, it's all there. And, without a doubt, I think, that's exactly what's happened, that, every religion has come out with their story, which is all similar, but in a little different in their different ways. And it's not no supernatural, being that was sent down for God for our sins, and I hate even saying that because I don't like to talk but
it's so ignorant to think that he died on the cross for our sins, really, because we've been sinning like crazy ever since.
Oh yeah, and I swear
he died for nothing.
And I'll tell you, if I was God and my son was nailed up to the cross, making a point or not, I would have magically made him come down, healed, and I would have came through the skies and hollered at everybody that was evil and just said just get rid of those evil people. And I mean, that would be something to talk about. And you know what I mean? I mean, can you imagine just the Almighty God coming down and wiping the slate clean of all evil, and just having peace on earth? And I mean, it should be an easy thing to do, right?
You would think, but I think he's out playing golf right now or doing something else. He's not paying attention. He was busy that day. That was the problem,
Oh, boy. I tell you, Angel.
I mean, I love religious folks. I think they're funny people.
Oh, yeah.
I think the entire concept of religion is both good and bad. I think some people need that structure in their life, and they need some kind of religious structure, because without it, they're doomed to be, idiots, or they're doomed to just, be complete failures in life, because they need some kind of indoctrination to tell them what to do. Not everybody is like that. Not everybody needs, somebody to tell them what to do. Some people can live their own lives and understand what reality really is and see things for what they really are.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we live in a world where, a big part of the population needs to be spoon-fed everything.
Oh yeah, no, you're 100% right there. But I do believe that, yeah, some people do need it in their life with, they need structure and they need to be their handheld and stuff like that.
Yep.
Not to be rude, but, just the way it is, so, oh well, yeah.
But I'm glad you had me on your show, man. This has been a lot of fun for the last couple hours talking to you about these incredibly diverse topics.
No, yeah. Oh, yeah. I tend to jump all over the place sometimes. I mean, it's, I think it's better that way sometimes. Just let it flow and go one thing into the other. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked here at the end here. I got my three-legged cat.
You have a three-legged cat now. That's cool.
Yeah, and he's a black cat. He's got three legs. When he was a kitten, he shattered his hip. And... Oh. Yeah, he fell off the windowsill because he thought he could keep jumping up there.
Well, he has 9 lives, remember?
Exactly, yeah. And I'll tell you, hold on a second here. He fell down and shattered it on just a corner of the bed, which was very, very hard, and shattered it. And they were telling me $3,000 to get him fixed. So I said, "There's no way. You're gonna have to
just cut the leg off. It'll be okay."
Yeah, and you know what? And it cost me nothing. They said they'll do it for nothing, but we'll just have to cut the leg off. 3 days later, he was running around like nothing. I mean, unbelievable. I mean, the cat just gets into everything. He's got a powerful one back leg. I mean, it's kind of, weird to see him hop around sometimes. But we got a dog, too, that he will not take no crap from. So this black cat with 3 legs he's a character, man.
Hey, look, animals, I'm an animal lover. I love animals, and their tenacity to overcome things that, we look at and like, man, how could he do it? Because we think of animals as dumb animals, but they're actually a lot smarter than we give them credit for.
Oh, yeah.
For a cat to be able to understand that it's missing a leg, but it still has to continue and has to make do with what it has, it says a lot about its own mind and dealing with its own situation. And I've seen 3-legged dogs. I've seen 2-legged dogs still, hopping around.
Oh, yeah. Well, so, I mean, isn't it the same way with? I mean, if we were confronted with the same situation and you either die or you live and deal with what you got. I mean, sometimes you do overcome. So, but yeah, this thing's he's crawling all over everything, man. Right now, he's driving me nuts. What's going on, buddy?
Bless his little.
But yeah, Angel, I appreciate you coming on and talking with me, man. I really do. I'm just getting started with this thing, this radio show, on the PITN radio network here. So, for you to be one of the first, I've done a few here. So, I mean, it's been great talking to you for sure. I mean, I'd love to do it again someday.
My friend, whenever you need a guest, just hit me up. I'd love to sit down and conversate with anybody. And you have a fantastic show here, and it's really been my pleasure to be on here with you and to talk with you for the last couple hours. And hopefully, your show grows and continues to, to expand and do as well as it possibly can. So I wish you the best, brother.
Appreciate that, Angel. And yeah, it is, I'm, like anything, the longer you do it, the more connections you get and stuff. I mean, I do got some cool people lined up here in the future. So it's looking up. It's looking good. So, yeah.
If you ever need a guest, let me know. Just go through our website, skywatchersradio.com, and pick apart whatever guest you want on. And hit me up, and I'll hit them up for you.
Cool beans. Awesome, man. I appreciate it.
No problem. And like I said earlier, I like extending that hand to folks who, are either new at stuff or, are in need of stuff, or like yourself. You're a new host, and you're getting going. So I'll extend that olive branch to you. And if you need anybody, just like I said, hit me up.
Cool beans. Thanks a lot, Angel, man. You take care, and peace and love to you, man.
Peace and love to everybody.
Okay. Take care, Angel.
Thank you, brother.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, everybody, that's Angel Espino, Skywatchers Radio, and that's going to end the show, man. Check all the links on the website, www.pitnradionetwork.com, and I will catch you guys next week, Wednesday with Voices Carry Radio, and Friday. I'll have to look at the website again. I forget the guest already. But anyways, peace and love to everybody. Talk to you guys later. Bye. Bye. Bye.